This is a quick video to show you the concept of lenses. So the reason we're using lenses is that we found that when you show people a lot of data all at once, it can be overwhelming and they don't necessarily know how to navigate their way through. So that's where this idea of lenses can hopefully help narrow the focus in what data you're looking at to help dive into it without it being too much all at once. So what you'll notice here is that when you load onto the map, you land on the main map, and the idea of the main map is that this is your hub where you can turn on all the different layers here on the left in the map layer widget. Though we'll get to the caveat to that in a second. But with the lenses, when you click on an individual lens, what this does is it narrows into only that category of data or presentation of data. So we'll get to the presentations as well. But what you see here with the networks is now we're only seeing the data related to networks. If we go to buildings, now we're only seeing the data related to buildings. You still need to expand the categories over here on the left as well. But you can always return to the main map and again see all the different categories of the data here. So with the presentations, this is a similar idea to the narrowing to look at the different categories, but here we're narrowing to look at the types of data that were used in that specific presentation. So here, clicking on, we have to click on the plus button here, as opposed to clicking on, if you click here, this won't actually do anything. That's just because we needed more text in order to write the long name of this talk, so we couldn't turn that into a button. So we had to use this assistance of a little plus button here to make that into a button. So again, what you're seeing on the left is this is narrowing down the categories of data to what was used in the talk. I don't think it's like that. I've clicked multiple times. Or it also might just be that it needs to take some time to load. If you encounter slow load times when changing between the lenses, that is just because it's loading a lot of data in the background, but hopefully when you then switch around between the lenses after it loads once, okay, so you can see here, that basically got stuck just because it was loading the map in the background and that was taking a long time. But now if I go back to the main map, that's quick. And if I go back to this one, that's also quick because it took a while to load up. But now that it's loaded, we can jump around between the maps pretty quickly. So yeah, if you're struggling with load time, give it a minute and hopefully that will load in the background and then you can come back to this. So it's almost useful that it did that for me so that you can know if that happens to you as well. So as I was mentioning, we have our categories on the left, and this has been narrowed down to the ones that were talked about specifically in this talk in the context and challenges of decarbonizing heat in Edinburgh. And the idea of these presentation lenses is that you have a video of the presentation that we did using the map, and then be able to come play the video as well as have a more limited focus to play around with the lenses or the layers, only the ones that were used in that video. So we can see that here, and we could turn on, say, heat networks, because that was a focus of the video. And again, that works just as it does in the main map. But the general idea with the category lenses is that you could, say, investigate the network data or also investigate the layers of the building data. And if you find something that you want to look at together, so here I have the council-owned land and buildings, and say I want to overlay the council-owned buildings with the City of Edinburgh's heat network zones. Well, currently I don't have access to them because I'm in only the building layer. So this is where I could go back to the main map and I could turn on both the buildings here and then those heat network zones, which would be under heat network, not network. So the idea is that your main map is like your hub for combining the different types of data sources. Though with that being said, there's still another button, which is the everything map. So if we go to the everything map, the idea of this is that as we were starting to put a lot of data into the map, the main map was getting very large, which was causing its initial load time to be very slow. And so some layers we've moved over into the everything map just to make the main map load a little bit faster. You can see that we have buildings turned on here. That's because all the lenses are actually pulling from the everything map. So even if the main map doesn't hold all the layers, the lenses will hold all the layers for those individual categories. I hope this makes more sense, and I'll show you an example in just a second. So our everything map properly holds everything, and that example we can see here under planning, because at the moment there's actually really only one layer that's in the everything map that isn't in the main map, and it's the Midlothian Local Development Plan, and that's because its subcategory is actually made up of 53 layers, and so it is very large. And so this is the one that when we had that inside the main map, that was causing the main map to load very slow, and so that's why the everything map exists. And as we continue to build the map, more things might end up in the everything map. So it's possible that you'll be exploring one of the lenses and find, let's go to the one that has Midlothian again. So if you were exploring the lenses, you find this Midlothian Local Development Plan, you go back to the main map and you try and find it here, and you find that it isn't in the main map. You could then go to the everything map knowing that that's the one that holds all the different bits of data, or you could add data to the main map, and we'll have another video to show you how to add data. And I want to just show you one other thing that can go not wrong with the lenses, but something that you might not expect. So if we go back to networks, you can see that we've been jumping between the lenses and turning different layers on. And so that's still the Midlothian Local Development Plan is still in the background, but I don't have the buttons to turn it off here. So this is where there's a little button up here that says turn all layers off. So again, this is technically the everything map in the background underneath all the lenses. So when you have one category turned on and you navigate to another lens, if you haven't turned that layer off before you leave, it will follow you. So I'll just show you that again. So as an example here, we have Edinburgh's anchor load, so might as well just go ahead and turn on the heat network zones for good measure as well. And now if we jump over into the buildings, you can see we don't have anything turned on in the buildings, but those heat network zones have followed us. And it's possible that you might actually want to do that purposefully as another way of overlaying the data without having to go back to the main map. That won't turn on if I don't turn all the buttons through. So you could do this, but if you're finding that you're wanting to explore the building data, but the leftover heat network zones from the networks bits getting in the way, this is where you can use this button at the top and then just turn off all the layers, and then I'll reset you for this lens. And last thing to mention, if you'll notice that this is still a blank video button, the goal is similar to how we have a video for each presentation to also have a video for each category here to explain in more detail what you're seeing within that category, as opposed to the video that's on the main map, which is still a rather general exploration of the map. So that's how you get around with lenses.